Hey folks, and welcome back to Straight Talk Whiskey. This is episode number 58. I'm here with you as always, and thanks for joining us this week. So, if you've been following along with our review series, you know we've only done one other Canadian whiskey review before, and that was the Canadian Club way back in the day. So we decided to, come back around and take a look at a whiskey that is not only from Canada, but is also pretty widely acclaimed now. In terms of Canadian whiskey. So we have the Royal Northern Harvest Rye, and if you follow any sort of the spirits competitions and awards or Jim Murray's Whiskey Bible, you might know that it took sort of top honors in a number of different award competition settings. So let's talk a little bit about it. Now, Crown Royal, they've been around for a while, since the early to mid 20th century. Not incredibly long, but longer than a lot of other Canadian whiskeys. It seems to have survived the sort of the tumult of, let's say, the 1980s, where it was certainly in decline. And it was originally owned by Seagram's. We know now that Crown Royal is owned by Diageo. And there's also a strike going on right now at Crown Royal, which is interesting, but they tell us that it's not hurting production at all, so that's a good thing. And comes in a nice little fabric case there, and a nice box as always. Nice little presentation wise. Now I got this for probably, I want to say $36 at my local store, so not too bad. Not too bad at all. You're getting a 45% ABV whiskey, which is nice, and it is a rye whiskey, Canadian whiskey, and 90% rye. So it's not just, some claim to be rye whiskeys just, by having a majority of rye be the grain in their whiskey. But Crown Royal goes way further and gives us 90% rye. So let's pour a little bit of this. Now I'm going to add a little disclaimer because I have had this before, and I don't say it often enough, but when you're going to drink whiskey, and certain whiskeys definitely have a powerful punch of their own, they can really knock through any other sort of tastes or aromas that might be in the air, though it's not preferable to have like incense or something like that burning near you. Now, I usually have the lantern lit, but it's a unscented candle for that reason, if you're wondering. So the one thing with this is it's very nice. I like it, but it's a very delicate whiskey in terms of the aromas and flavors that you're going to pick out of this. So you don't want to, if you're like me and you chug 2 pots of coffee or more a day, you don't want those sort of bold flavors, those bold aromas be lingering around. So give yourself a nice clean sort of slate to start in. Get rid of all the heavy perfumes or colognes if you're wearing any of that. Just try to get away from that so that you can really experience what's in here. So now what makes it different, the Northern Harvest Rye, is that they're planting the rye in the fall. So you have it growing through the fall season into the winter when it gets covered by snow. And sort of that, it's sprouting at that point, it gets covered with snow. Sort of slows down that process, and then in the spring, the harvest time, it's good to go. Beautiful rye grain is there for the harvesting. So, you look at the color, it's, little honeyed, little coppery tint to it. Nothing overly saturated. It's got a slight hue or slight tint of orange in there, but, nothing too crazy. The thing that you pick up right away is how nice that the grain comes through in there. You really get this really fruity but not overly saturated flavor. You're not getting huge apple or something like that, but just a nice, fresh, fruity fragrance to it. But what underlies this whole thing is these nice cereal notes, a bakery at 5 a.m. in the morning. You got all those great scents going on, pastries, that sort of thing. Sort of fresh cut grass, honey, again light, airy, just very fragrant. And sort of a malted barley quality to it. Now, and that doesn't, it doesn't indicate sort of the grain that's in there, obviously, but it's just sort of that note that you would get from a malted spirit, something like that. Now, Crown Royal is a blended whiskey, but it is a single distillery blend. So they are making a bunch of different types of whiskey in terms of their finish and that sort of thing. They use a bunch of different casks. Cognac, I believe, is one that they use for flavoring, which is really interesting. So they have their sort of flavoring whiskeys, they have their base, and that sort of thing to create, this blend that is Crown Royal. So it's not like they're sourcing it from 85,000 different places. They have their own pretty remote distillery near Manitoba, I believe. So just really, really interesting there. Let's go in for the taste. There's nothing bad that can be said, or any argument really to be made as to why it's won so many awards. And it sort of seems like it's been around for a little while and people are just sort of, starting to realize it's out there. But you get these really nice rye. We talk about this a lot, but when rye sort of becomes a really predominant grain, when you're talking about 60, 65% or above, 90, for this, you're getting a really nice, you're getting the spice still that people associate with rye, but it's more of a subdued sort of note, and what carries through is the fruits and that sort of thing, this nice fruitiness. And what comes through in this is what is really interesting to me, because I don't associate it a lot with Canadian whiskey, is this nice creamy note, almost like a single pot still Irish whiskey in terms of mouthfeel and that sort of thing, but just this really nice sort of creaminess that lingers and coats the tongue. It's just a nice, rounded, beautiful, easy flowing. You definitely got the rye in there, but what's coating it and keeping it sort of on the straight and narrow is the cask influence. So you're getting these nice vanilla notes, really just some good quality cask, you can tell in there, and the aging has definitely been done very well. I mean, this isn't a sort of barrel-dominated flavor profile that I'm getting. It's certainly with the grain, but it definitely, that pairing together is really producing something great here. And a little bit of that honey note that was showing through in the aroma is definitely coming up. I'm also getting something that's a little bit interesting. It's almost like lavender in a sense of just this nice sort of boutique, really fragrant sort of note that's really got these strong hints to, springtime and that sort of thing. Just really wonderful. And again, you can see why it won so many awards. Now, the finish isn't overwhelmingly long, but it does have this sort of creamy note. It's got a real tartness also to it. So you start with the initial taste is a little bit more spicy in the sense that you've got like a little bit of pepper, like crushed pepper, and then you move into sort of the creamy note that I'm talking about, and that's really the heart of all of this. And it's where you get the real strong punch of the grain and the cereal notes, and it's almost like a malted milkshake in terms of texture and flavor. attributing that vanilla note from the bourbon barrels. So definitely something rich and bold and beautiful. That's what it's all about. And I'm really glad that I've found sort of a Canadian whiskey that is so substantial. Like the Canadian Club, no need to knock it. It definitely has its purpose, but I haven't had another drink out of that bottle since I did the review. So, so people have their likes and dislikes. It's not that it's bad, it's just not sort of at the tip, of my mind when I want to go have something, at night or something like that, just a drink. But this, I would definitely come back to many times. I'll probably have to get another bottle because soon enough, people are going to find out about this and they're going to be one of those, collector things, one of those things that end up, at 50, double the price as it was a couple of years ago. Watch out for that because I bet you it's going to happen. So, for episode number 58, we'll go with a score of 97 out of 100. Try going around and finding another Canadian whiskey that somebody scored that high. I'm just joking. Because I'm not huge about the score. It's really up to you. You may taste this and say, it's like an 80, something like that. May not be to your liking. But for the whiskey enthusiast, connoisseur, that sort of thing, even if you're just looking for something new, really, this is definitely something to go out there and try. Like I said, 45% ABV, 90 proof, 30-something bucks. It could be different depending on where you are, but really good value Canadian 90% rye whiskey for your money. So, if you see it out there, give it a try. Let me know what you think if you've had it. And as always, if you're going to drink responsibly, and have a great week. We'll see you next time.